evening roll, and I watch the sun grow tired, collapsing into the meadow.
Good morning. It is a beautiful day for camping out here in Lubec, Maine. And you know what? I'd probably be going hungry right now if it weren't for the invention of food preservation. Food preservation dates back to the late 18th century when Emperor France Napoleon Bonaparte had a 12,000 franc prize for anyone who could devise a way to preserve food for his army and navy to eat. 14 years later, a Frenchman named Albert Heppert found out that if you could put food into an airtight sealed jar, it will stay relatively fresh until reopened. It's a beautiful day for canoeing out here in Lubec, Maine. And out here in Lubec, we are in the birthplace of canning in America. So Lubec once held one of the two largest canneries in Maine at the time. Canning was introduced in America in 1880 when the fish industry was booming. Fish such as sardine and herring were brought to these canneries in Maine, where they were roasted over a fire for about 15 to 20 minutes and packaged into small, compact metal cans like these, much different from earlier canning, which would put them in these glass jars, kind of like this.
Well, that's all about canning. Time for a nice lunch out on the water.
At least this food was in sealed containers, or else the water would have spoiled them.
Delicious. Welcome to my cooking show. I'm John, and this is Bobby. We're making Waldorf salad today. Start off, I'm gonna throw this mayo in this bowl.
Ooh. What kind of mayo is that?
Who cares? It's disgusting. Keep that over there. Next, putting some salt in there. After that, some sugar. And then some lemon juice. This is gonna be awesome. Now we gotta whisk this.
Did you know that the Waldorf salad was invented by chef Oscar Chitsky at the Waldorf Hotel in New York in 1892?
That's
Fun
a good fact. Very good. Okay, next part. Walnuts. Okay, next step. Some raisins. Toss them in there.
Ooh, whisk it up?
Go ahead and whisk that. Next step. You get 3 apples worth of chopped up apples. Throw it in there.
Now, did you chop those already?
I chopped those already. Now some celery. 1 stalk to be exact.
2 stalks.
You're making the meth here, John. Tasty.
Now it needs to be chilled until it's chilled. Here you go. 5 hours later, it's ready to go. Waldorf salad. Have a nice day. Ah! Ah! Ow! 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 Just kidding. It's chocolate syrup. That was pretty goofy, but let's dig a little deeper with the founder, Milton S. Hershey. Hey Milton,
Hi, John.
how's it going?
Pretty good. And yourself?
I'm doing great.
That's awesome.
So, how'd the company begin?
Well, back in the 1870s, as a young lad, I started a candy shop in Pennsylvania. And it didn't do too well. It failed miserably, actually. So I went on and I created a caramel company, which was actually very successful. But then I realized that chocolate is like caramel, except better.
Yes.
So I sold my caramel company in 1900 for $1 million.
$1 million.
$1 million.
$1 million.
And used that money to start the Hershey Company, which makes chocolate. Now, we make chocolate bars, chocolate syrup, and chocolate kisses, which we invented. They're little drops of chocolate.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Have you ever had them?
I have.
Are they delicious?
They are.
And we started it in a small town in Pennsylvania, which is now called Hershey, Pennsylvania, which is my name. And the chocolate dominates the whole town. It smells like chocolate. There's chocolate stuff to do there, and it's really nice. Have you ever been there?
I've been there. It's a nice town, believe me.
Yeah. So
It was nice to meet you, Milton.
nice to meet you, John.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Well, that was interesting. It brings up another subject, the invention of the ice cream sundae in 1892. April 3rd, 1892, Reverend John M. Scott stopped by Platt and Colt Pharmacy in Ithaca, New York for his bowl of vanilla ice cream, as always on Sundays. But this day, Chester Platt, the owner of the shop, prepared the ice cream with syrup and a candied cherry. The Reverend decided to name it after the Lord's Day, Sunday. Intriguing. Now for the invention of the ice cream cone at the 1904 St. Louis World Fair. During the St. Louis World Fair in 1904, Charles Menchus, an ice cream vendor, ran out of bowls to serve his ice cream in. Luckily, nearby, an American immigrant by the name of Ernest Hamwee was selling waffles. Hamwee offered to roll waffles in place of a dish, thus creating the first ice cream cone. Around the turn of the 20th century, some other sweets were invented, such as the Oreo in 1912 in New York City by Nabisco. To name another, Ovaltine, which was developed by Nestle in 1904. One more is fudge, American style to be exact, in Baltimore in 1886 by Emmeline Batterby Partridge. Hey there, I'm John from TechCrunch. Today, talking about refrigeration. During the 1800s, most people still used ice boxes in their houses because refrigeration really hadn't reached its development. But later on in the century, they began to be developed. Refrigerators were mostly used for meat packaging in breweries during the time, but around 1911, they started to be used more and more in households. And we'll go on. Although the first gas absorption and refrigeration systems were invented in France in 1860, Thaddeus Lowe, an American balloonist during the Civil War, invented the ice compression machine, which would revolutionize cold storage. Also, with the invention of CFCs by Frederick Schwartz, such as Freon, the refrigerator slowly moved into the home. Because these CFCs allowed refrigerators to be less harmful because they did not require poisonous chemicals such as ammonia and methyl chloride to create ice. By 1884, one writer noted that refrigerators were as common as stoves or sewing machines in all but the poorest tenements in cities. The use of ice in home was growing to keep food longer and to cool drinks. Another major contribution of refrigeration in America during the late 1800s and early 1900s was that refrigerated ships carried the first chilled beef from New York to Europe, and the following year the first frozen shipment was sent to England. Another form of refrigerated transportation was refrigerated rail cars. These cars helped establish Midwestern cities, especially Chicago and Kansas City, as the slaughter centers of the country, and also created regional produce specializations. The increasingly widespread distribution of fresh foods expanded markets, and helped to create healthier diets of meat, produce, eggs, butter, milk, cheese, and fish. Well, that's all we have for refrigeration. See you next time on TechCrunch.
Bye, John.
What are you guys drinking? What are you drinking?
Drinking my soft drinks, as usual.
Excellent.
I got me some milk.
Well, I personally am a fan of hot beverages. I got my tea.
Really?
Yeah.
Anyway, well, soft drinks, they got a really rich history. Did you know that?
I did not know
It
that.
didn't.
Well, you mean they first became popular in 1830 when a man named John Matthews invented a machine which would automatically carbonate water. And in 1899, an automatic glass blowing machine was invented, thus allowing the mass production of glass bottles.
Fascinating.
Nice.
They use glass bottles for milk, too.
Yes.
What else did they use for milk in that time period?
Well, during the time period, the automatic milker was invented. The Baldwin model is widely seen as a failure and unsuccessful, but it left its legacy, and many more models were to follow
Why was it unsuccessful? Why did it fail?
because it just didn't work. The Baldwin model consisted of a vacuum mechanism that was operated by a hand pump.
Like a bicycle pump?
Yes, the exact
Like
same
one of
thing.
these?
Excellent.
Mhm.
One of these?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Sweet.
Well, in the world of hot beverages, instant coffee was invented by Satoru Kato in Chicago, who was actually a Japanese immigrant. And he introduced it at the Pan American Expo, which was great. And then George Constant Lewis, another food entrepreneur, actually made it a commercial good in 1910.
Interesting.
Well, that may be so. But you see, Coca-Cola, the soft drink, it's actually the most popular soft drink today.
The most popular soft drink
Yes.
In America?
In the world.
in the world.
It's everywhere. It's international. But it actually has one of the richest histories you'll ever hear.
Do tell.
In May of 1886, Coca-Cola was invented by Dr. John Stith Pemberton in
Interesting.
Atlanta, Georgia. The name was a suggestion given by his bookkeeper, Frank Robinson. And actually, see this label right here?
I do.
It's very easily recognizable. That's actually Robinson's original signature of the drink.
No way.
Really, yeah, way. Because he had such good penmanship.
Amazing.
You see, Coca-Cola is unique because when it was first patented, they would put actually the extract of the cocoa leaf in there.
And that was used for cocaine, right?
Yes, it was. So, got people hooked. Also, it was
Alright.
first sold to the public at a soda fountain in Jacob's Pharmacy in Atlanta.
What?
And nowadays, Coca-Cola produces more than 1 billion drinks per day.
Per day?
Amazing.
Per day.
Is there
1/6 of the world.
Anything else you would like to tell us, John, about dairy?
Well, you guys may have me beaten, but during the time period, the cream separator was invented. The cream separator, which was first patented in 1894, was a centrifugal machine that spun milk into skim milk and cream.
Fascinating.
On farms that used these separators, the skim milk was used for the piglets and the calves.
Like when they didn't have mommies?
Yes.
Aww.
And
Oh, that's sad.
the cream was used for butter.
Oh. Like on bread?
Hmm.
Yeah, I like to
Butter.
have that on my toast in the morning.
Yeah, so do I.
Mhm.
Nah, I mean,
I know what you mean.
Well, that's actually really interesting and hard to follow, but the Racilius process for decaffeination, even though it was introduced in Germany, was brought over to the U.S. in this time period. Did you know that?
Didn't know that. Don't even know what that is.
I see you have Pepsi there too, Bobby. What is that?
yes, I do.
What does that have to do with it?
Pepsi also has a very rich history, too. Pepsi Cola was invented by the pharmacist Caleb Bradham of North Carolina. like most pharmacists, he owned a soda machine in his store. And he made this drink, which he originally called Brad's drink, which consisted of pepsin and extract from the cola nut, which gave it its flavor. Brad's drink was created in the summer of 1898 and was renamed Pepsi Cola. And in 1940, history was made when Pepsi Cola released the first national jingle for their product. The jingle was nickel nickel, referring to the price of their product.
Well, last thing, the tea bag was actually invented by Thomas Sullivan in New York. Thomas Sullivan enveloped the tea in a small silk bag attached to a string so that you could just have it in hot water and not have free tea. So you wouldn't have to brew a whole pot.
That's convenient.
And that was in 1908. You guys have anything else to say?
Yeah, well, other soft drinks that were popularized in the U.S. around that time period included drinks 7-Up, Moxie, and Dr. Pepper, which are all still around today.
That is the truth.
Yes.